Oh, never mind.
Well, never mind. We're live. So, welcome into Championship Rings. There is no intro tonight because we are fired up. We got all of things going. And Josh, I think what you mentioned, we didn't have nothing on the bottom. There we go. So, we are live. This is Championship Rings on a Tuesday. Sorry about the little fluster of the intro. We got a breaking news call right before we went on the air. But I'm Brandon Lewis, the host of Brandon's World. He is Ungar to the Max. Unger to the Max, the host of the Sports Room Talk Show. Unger, I'm so messed up about this college football playoff, I can't even get the intro right.
No, you can't. I don't know what the big deal is. Alabama. I'm sorry. When you get blown out by Oklahoma, you don't belong. You lost to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. No.
That's not my big deal. I don't have a problem with SMU getting in at all. I agree with you 100%. Alabama should have been nowhere near the college football playoff. That is my exact problem with the college football playoff. That there was even talk about that sorry this year, and I mean sorry, Alabama football team that lost to Oklahoma in Norman. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to Tennessee, who somehow ended up being a 9 seed, technically, in this old damn tournament. I don't understand the new bracket. I don't understand the new structure. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Basically, the committee, and Josh, if I were you, I would be thrilled because no fault of your own, your Penn State Nifty Lions, who lost the Big Ten championship game to Oregon, I actually think got the perfect side of the bracket, and Oregon, who won the Big Ten championship, who was the only undefeated team in the top 12 in college football, there's a possibility they're going to have to go through Ohio State or Tennessee, potentially Texas, and potentially Georgia. Those are, throughout the whole year, 3 out of the top 5 teams in the country to win the national championship.
Yep. And Clemson sneaks their way in by winning the ACC. But I'm sorry. I get it. Arizona State and Boise State won their conferences, but that doesn't mean they should have gotten byes.
Well, by rule, it does, because by rule, obviously, if you win your conference championship, the top 4 conference champions are going to get byes. I don't like it.
I don't like it. It does, okay, Arizona State should have gotten in. Fine. They shouldn't have gotten one of the byes. They're not one of the top 4 best teams in college football. You can't tell me that.
No, you can't. And the weird thing is Texas, even though obviously they lost that game to Georgia, and even so, obviously, with Carson Beck going down for Georgia, we'll see what his status is as we go into the second round of the CFP. But you can make an argument Texas as the 5 seed, again, they may have gotten more lucky not winning the SEC championship game.
Yeah. You are correct. They have to play Clemson, and then the winner of that
who they will destroy, by the way. And I don't care if they play Quinn Ewers. I don't care if they play Arch Manning. I will tell you right here, right now, Clemson will lose by at least 3 touchdowns.
And the winner of that game, I think, plays Arizona State.
I believe they do, yeah, because you're Penn State. If you guys would win, you guys would then take on Boise State. Obviously, in that third round, I believe.
Wait, who does Georgia play the winner of that?
Let me go ahead and pull this up.
Yeah, I want to look up the bracket.
So, we have, here we go. Come on, Google. Load it up. So, Penn State would play Boise State. Georgia plays the winner of Indiana Notre Dame.
That's correct. Okay. So,
Which, by the way, either of those 2 teams, for the record, Indiana, I think that they were showcase frauds and they lost to Ohio State in Columbus. Are they probably a 12 team? Sure. But I don't know. I think 12 teams is way too much. I think you can clearly see that by this bracket. I think that conference championship games now are ridiculous. Where basically the whole conversation around Alabama SMU was, should we punish a team because they made the conference championship and lost versus quality wins? And like the debate is stupid. It makes no sense.
You
You guys all thought the 4 versus 5 seed debate was stupid. This is as stupid on 4 times a level.
do you remember there was a recent uh, th- thing at press conferences? I forget which coaches were talking about whether or not they actually want to play in conference championships. I think it was Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss.
There should not be a conference championship. If we're going to this format, and by the way, they're even talking about now, let's expand it to 16 teams. What
No.
is this? March Madness? I mean, I forgot which coach it was. I think it was Sark at Texas, who basically said this is turning into March Madness. But at March Madness, they have 4 number 1 overall seeds. They don't have just 1 overall seed.
Yeah, you are correct about that. Um, and also the fact that, like, why is Ohio State still an 8 seed when they lost to an unranked Michigan team?
And Ohio State beat Penn State. And Penn State, and no disrespect to your nifty Lions at all, but again, Penn State, they lost to Ohio State and they lost to Oregon, and they're ranked ahead of Ohio State.
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, Penn State got to the conference championship game. Ohio State had to sit at home.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I don't know. I think it's all messed up. By the way, Notre Dame is not in a conference, right? I mean, they're ranked 7. So was Notre Dame punished? Notre Dame had no chance to get a first round bye because they weren't in a conference.
Yeah, and that's their own fault. Because they're like, oh, we're Notre Dame. We don't need to be in a conference.
Hey,
well,
listen,
here's your reward.
Well, at the format this thing's going, I don't blame Notre Dame for not being in a conference because this conference thing has turned into a freaking mess. I like the fact, I alluded to this earlier in the year, I like the fact that they combined the Big Ten West, the Big Ten East, the SEC West, the SEC East in a 1 division per conference. But you can have the conferences, that's fine. Let's get rid of conference championship play. Let's have what it used to be. Let's have rivalry weekend be the last week of the college football season, regardless. Let's have everybody play the same amount of games, and let's judge it that way, and let's rank the best teams in the country 1 through 12. And let's reseed after every single round and give the top 4 teams buys. How hard is that?
I don't know. I mean, I could have made an argument that Ole Miss belongs in the 12-team college football playoff,
Well,
despite
not according to them. Not according to this committee, who I don't even know committee watched college football this year. I never know what the committee watched college football because they always make a stupid decision. But regardless, they have Ole Miss ranked behind Bama and behind Miami.
Yeah, which by the way, the Heisman Trophy finalists got announced yesterday. Cam Ward, quarterback for Miami. Ashton Genty, the running back at Boise State. Travis Hunter, the wide receiver and cornerback at Colorado. And Dylan Gabriel, quarterback from Oregon.
I'm here to say, and you know my thoughts on Dion and Colorado and all the antics. But if Travis Hunter is not the Heisman Trophy winner, there's something wrong in college football because that is what is called valuable to me. The best player in college football all year, played both sides of the ball. I get it. They had 3 or 4 losses. None of them was his fault. And, Dylan Gabriel did go undefeated. I'm kind of iffy on Dylan Gabriel, though he could certainly prove me wrong here. Though, as I alluded to before, I think if Ohio State does get past Tennessee, which is going to be a very hard test for Ohio State, especially going back in Columbus, the place where Ryan Day is going to get booed out of the freaking building in that game for what happened in the
Oh, he
Michigan
should
game.
be fired.
Hey, you know what's funny? What if Ohio State wins the national championship? Is he going to get fired then?
I've heard that's the only way he can save his job.
I've heard for the grapevines, I forget which national reporter said it, but one of them did say that if Urban Meyer got the call back to come back and coach Ohio State, he would take it. Something
I've
in my
already
opinion.
seen reports that he said no to that.
Okay, so we've heard conflicting reports on that. Regardless, the way I feel about the CFP mostly is Oregon is the one that got hosed. Your nifty Lions, which you should be happy about, I think they got the best side of the bracket. If I had to guess right now, I think our final four is probably a combination of Texas, Georgia, Penn State, and Oregon.
Yeah, I'm going to say national championship, Oregon, Georgia.
Okay, I think we get part 3. Texas, Georgia. I think Texas will get their revenge. It may be Arch Manning. Who knows? Because Quinn Ewers to me certainly does sound like a 3rd round pick to me.
Yeah. And people were talking about him possibly being the first quarterback off the board at some point. But hey, speaking of strong quarterback play,
Yeah.
Well, what? Hey, LA Rams, where has this been all season?
Well, is Puka Nacua not a top maybe 5-ish wide receiver in the NFL in today's game? What an incredible performance he had. Not to mention Cooper Kupp, not to mention Matthew Stafford dealing balls all over the place. But the Buffalo Bills, who were down at one point, 21 points or something like that, midway through the 3rd quarter, and they just put Josh Allen's rocket ship on his back. They didn't get a lot of run game from James Cook, and it was just the Josh Allen show. What an incredible shootout that game was in the second half. Ironically, it came down to a blocked punt by the Rams earlier on in the game. Yeah.
If you weren't taking the Rams seriously, you better take them seriously now. I think the NFC West is coming down to that Week 18 game in SoFi Stadium between the Seahawks and the Rams. I really do. We're going to get to the Seahawks in a little bit here because they have a huge Sunday night game against the Packers this week. But, man, maybe it's because the Rams have been injured all season, but they're finally putting it together. Kyron Williams has been fantastic for them at running back. Cooper Kupp is getting back to his Super Bowl MVP form. I'll tell you what, if the Rams get into the playoffs, look out. Especially if they win the division and have home field advantage in the wild card round, they can give teams problems.
Well, here's the interesting thing. The way I'm projecting it right now, I think the NFC West winner, whoever that will be, is likely to be the 3 seed. In the NFC, that will likely match up with a rematch of, I believe it was Week 5, Packers at Rams in LA.
Yes.
And by the way, a game that we will preview in about a little bit here, that could be a preview of Wild Card Weekend, the way things are going.
Yes, and I'll just give you a little sneak peek. We know the history the Packers and Seahawks have, so that would be fascinating, but we'll save that for later. But I'm, as much as I want to give the Rams credit, this hurts the Bills greatly because now, thanks to the doink on Sunday night.
Oh my God. You know what? I'm dead serious. Okay, so everybody's watching that game with 4 minutes left in the game. The game, you guys know what I'm talking about. Sunday Night Football, Chargers, Chiefs. Chargers had the lead at 17-16, and Mahomes just got the ball back. Chargers just took the lead on a Dicker the Kicker field goal to make it 17-16. You want to know at 4 minutes what I was saying? I think no. Well, what I was saying from a Charger standpoint was, guys, I think you should blitz all 11 every single play and let the Chiefs go score a touchdown,
Uh,
because you want to try to get the ball back because you want the ball in Justin Herbert's hands, not in the hands of your defense. Because I knew what Kansas City was going to do. They were going to run the ball. They were going to take the clock down. They were going to kick a field goal with no time left, and they freaking doinked it.
yes, but let's get to a possible Super Bowl rematch or preview, I should say. Bills Lions.
Okay, but before we do, I want to ask you this question. I want to know your thoughts on Dan Campbell, the balls on that man.
Oh my God.
On 4th and 1 from what was it, the Green Bay 35 or whatever it was, and a tie game with 43 seconds left, where Jared Goff gets his foot stepped on by the right guard. And so I thought he was just going to have to pitch it out to Montgomery. He somehow hands it off to David Montgomery. Lions kick the game-winning field goal without letting Jordan Love, who was right out in the second half, back out on the field.
I'll tell you what, I made a video like a few hours before that game or something, saying we were going to learn a lot about the Packers, the Lions, and the Seahawks over these next 2 weeks, because the Packers were playing the Lions, the Seahawks were playing the Cardinals for the second time in 3 weeks, and then you turn around this week, the Lions are hosting the Bills, and the Packers are playing the Seahawks. So I felt like based on those matchups, we were going to learn a lot about those three teams. And the biggest thing I learned is if your Philadelphia Eagles want to get to the Super Bowl, they got to somehow, some way, get the NFC Championship out of Detroit. Because
I think Dan Campbell and his recklessness is going to cost the Detroit Lions a game at some point. Whether it's in the Super Bowl, whether it's in the NFC Championship, I don't know. It could be this Sunday against Buffalo. I'm sorry. I know it worked out, Dan. Good for you. I'm the most aggressive guy in the world. That was the wrong decision because, again, I go back to these analytics. If you don't get it there, I know the Packers didn't have any timeouts. I get it. But the likelihood, the way Jordan Love was carving up your practice squad essential defense in the second half, was pretty likely that they were going to get in field goal range to win the game. And Detroit, if you slip up one time, that opens the door for my Philadelphia Eagles, or I'll give you a better one, Josh.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Let me tell you this. I know this for a fact because I've already looked up the NFC clinching odds. If the Detroit Lions, Philadelphia Eagles, and Minnesota Vikings all finish 15-2, the Minnesota Vikings would get the number 1 seed in the NFC. They would win the North because of that huge Week 18 game that's taking place in Detroit between the Vikings and Lions. So, because of that, in my opinion, again, the risk was not worth the reward. When it comes down to this game here, I do think the fact that Buffalo was just in a shootout with the Rams and lost helps them in this game because they're going to be angry. They're going to play smarter. Josh Allen's going to be in a dome again on turf. And I think Buffalo will come out with a renewed sense of focus to run the football, something they did not do at all last week. James Cook was almost non-existent. I don't think Josh Allen is going to have a 6-touchdown game again, which arguably has put him right at the top, if not at the top of the MVP conversation. I think Buffalo here controls the clock, and I think Buffalo, they're a dog by 1.5 points. I think Buffalo, if I had to guess right now, goes into Detroit and they will beat the Lions because of some coaching malpractice by Dan Campbell that will allow Buffalo to kick a game-winning field goal.
If Buffalo wants to win this game, it's not going to be because of Josh Allen. I'll tell you that. I think it has to be on the backs of the Buffalo defense. Because you want to stop the Lions, you got to stop Sonic and Knuckles.
That's the number one thing. You have to force Detroit to throw. What did we see in that Houston game? Even Jared Goff, he threw 5 interceptions. Yes, they won the game because what the hell were the Houston Texans doing in the second half? That may ultimately be the game that decides the number one seed. Um, if you put pressure on Jared Goff, he is not the same quarterback. The interception he threw in the game against Green Bay was tight, man-to-man coverage. My good buddy Jalen Sandvik, we all know he's go out to this show before. We all know he is a huge Detroit Lions fan. I texted Jalen about that decision Thursday night. Jalen said, and I quote, "It was the ballsiest decision I've ever seen a coach made, and I wouldn't have made it."
Fair enough. But
So,
when I say that if Buffalo wants to win this game, it's going to be because of their defense and not Josh Allen. That's not trying to diminish the importance of Josh Allen in any way. Because I get it. He's had to put on the Superman cape at times and play unbelievable. I understand that. What the play he made against San Francisco, where he threw a touchdown and caught a touchdown all on the same play, was just amazing. But again, we've seen how Detroit plays. You want to stop them? You gotta stop that running game. You have to.
do you think? I think it's more. I don't think it's as high scoring as the Rams game, obviously. Like, I feel like this is like 30-27, maybe even 30-28 Buffalo. I could certainly see the score be flipped, but I don't think it goes higher than that.
This is. We know these two offenses can put up points, though. That's the thing. And I don't know if I can trust the Lions' defense given the number of injuries. I just don't know. So that's why I would favor Buffalo in this game. I would probably say 35-31, so a
Okay.
little bit higher scoring than you. I understand your reasoning though. I just think Jared Goff is going to make a play late to Amon-Ra St. Brown that this somehow decides the game, whether it's like a game-sealing first down or the game-winning touchdown, something. I think it'll go to Amon-Ra St. Brown. But think about the atmosphere at Ford Field on Sunday. You got Bills Mafia, one of the best fan bases in the NFL, willing to jump through tables, and you got Detroit. Like, we saw how hard it was to go into Ford Field and win in the playoffs last season. This is going to be like a playoff. This is going to be a playoff type atmosphere on Sunday, no doubt.
Let's throw it back to the 2012 season. Week 4, the replacement referees in Seattle. A classic game between the Packers and Seahawks, and they will renew acquaintance. And all of a sudden, Seattle, who looked like they were dead midway through the season, started 4-5. A Geno Smith scamper to beat San Francisco in San Francisco looks to be the catalyst for all of a sudden a team that Josh, my cousin, is a huge Seattle Seahawks fan. I know they're your favorite NFC team. I texted my cousin immediately after the Seahawks destroyed Arizona. I don't care what the score says. That game was over by halftime. And I said, you know what? I'm done discounting the Seahawks. They are for real. I can't believe I'm saying it. Geno Smith in a division with Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, and Brock Purdy has the lead. And this is a big test, though, for Seattle as they're taking on a red-hot Jordan Love and Packers offense, even though they did lose at Detroit.
Well, don't forget about the 2014 NFC Championship and that whole debacle by the Packers and the botched onside kick. And you also have that playoff game in Green Bay where I think it was Matt Hasselbeck, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, was that Charles Woodson?
I don't remember who it was that got him for the interception, but like it was Hasselbeck that said, "We will win," and then he got intercepted.
Yep.
So, and they've had other classic games. This,
It's weird because Seattle, like they're 8-5. They don't really feel like an 8-5 team yet. Here they are.
yeah, I know. Jackson Smith and Jigba has come on.
He's come on incredibly over the last month. He may be their difference in their offense because Ryan Grubb has struggled, offensively, I think a little bit of times getting Geno Smith in rhythm. And all of a sudden, Kenneth Walker, who's been out a ton, Zach Charbonnet comes in. He looks like Kenneth Walker 2.0 on Sunday. Arizona can tackle him.
Yeah. Um, DK's playing well for them. Tyler Lockett's playing well. But think about how much Baltimore's defense has fallen off and how much Seattle's defense has improved. And
Well,
who's
they've improved throughout the season. They were a mess the first half of the season. It's part of the reason why they struggled at 4-5 out of the gate. Their defense was not getting enough stops.
well, I'm
So,
just saying in general, look at how Seattle's defense has improved.
yeah, I think they've improved a little bit. They're not the fanciest defense in the world. You
No,
you don't think of them as this all great defense the way
no,
we
I'm not
thought of
saying that.
Baltimore last year, but I mean they certainly improved. I would say from a year ago. I think the biggest story for Seattle is going to be can they keep Jordan Love and that Green Bay Packer offense off the field? Because what the Packers defense does very well under Jeff Hapley, who of course came over from Boston College a year ago, they take the football away.
Yeah. Um, but we'll see how they do stopping the run because they just faced arguably the best running back duo in the NFL in David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. And now you got to face another very good running back duo in Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, as you mentioned.
Well, is Kenneth Walker going to play? I don't know. I have not checked the injury report.
I can double check.
Because as far as I know, he was out obviously Sunday with an ankle injury, and from what I heard, he's very iffy going into this week against Green Bay.
So I'll check on that right now. Green Bay, according to ESPN, is a 3-point favorite. It says Kenneth Walker is questionable as of right now.
Yeah, apparently he's got a calf injury. Mike McDonald has said that Charbonnet is an RB1 if he misses time. Apparently, it's very up in the air if he's going to play. So I would guess at best, if he does play, it's a limited role for Walker, especially with a calf injury to a running back. But as I mentioned, Seattle's got to control the ball because I don't know how many stops they're going to get because Josh Jacobs. This is one of the biggest surprises of the year to me because going into the year, I love Aaron Jones. He's one of my favorite backs in the whole league. I could not understand why Green Bay let him go. I thought he was a better back than Josh Jacobs. What the hell do I know? I'm only sitting here talking to you in front of my TV screen because all of a sudden, Josh Jacobs has ran wild for Green Bay, and he's been really the catalyst of their entire offense.
That is true. It's going to be interesting because you know how it is up in Seattle when it's prime time. That stadium is loud. So.
Well, they're loud regardless, but outside of that game against Arizona, they have not played well at home this year. That is their only win at home.
Yeah, but this game is prime time. It's Green Bay. Seattle fans are going to be ready for this game. I can assure you of that.
I'm back and forth on this one because I kind of think if you're Green Bay, that's why that loss to Detroit was so huge because now they're kind of out of the NFC North picture. They're really trying to hang on to that 6th seed. If they take a couple more losses, maybe they fall to that 7th seed. Maybe the Commanders or somebody move up there in that 6th seed.
I did tell you that Josh Jacobs could do well with the Packers.
Yeah, you did. I just didn't think he'd do as well as Aaron Jones. I mean, I thought Aaron Jones was the catalyst of that offense. Turns out all you need is a good running back. And they're doing it, by the way, without A.J. Dillon the whole year, who obviously got hurt in preseason. I think Seattle needs the game more. Again, I have a tendency to pick games based off who I think the better quarterback will be in the game. This one is so tricky for me to call. Like, I think it's a 3.5 point game. I could see Seattle covering with the hook and Green Bay winning by a field goal.
I think the fact that it's in Seattle makes the difference. I know the Seahawks have struggled at home, but they seem to play at with a with a more fierce intensity. I guess that's the best way of saying it. When it's
Come on, Josh, hold my feet to the fire, man. We got someone here who's loving our show. Thank you for the comment, by the way. Keep them coming.
Yes, this is Grandizer. He loves to comment on my stuff. But yes, I did tell you, how big of an impact Josh Jacobs would have with the Packers. You tried to doubt me, and well, he's the main reason they beat the 49ers a couple weeks back, aside from the fact that San Francisco is injured to all hell and back. But I don't think Green Bay would have been in that game last week had it not been for Josh Jacobs. I think he made a huge impact, not to diminish what Jordan Love did, but I think part of the reason Jordan Love is playing so well is because he's able to use that play action game because of the running game of Josh Jacobs.
And as I alluded to earlier, this could very well be a NFC wild card 6 versus 3 rematch right back in the same place in Seattle.
Yeah. I even though Seattle has struggled at home recently, I think Seattle uses the fact that this is on Sunday Night Football against Green Bay, and Seattle wins.
Josh, to the Battle of Pennsylvania. And oh boy, do we have drama in Philly again? Oh my God.
Your passing game is inept. Well,
my nightmares are coming true again. AJ Brown's talking about the passing game. Brandon Graham's out here talking about AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts aren't friends anymore. We got coaches saying that players need to enjoy wins in the NFL. Here we go again. Please just destroy Pittsburgh for my sanity. Please. By the way, I have texted I forgot to text you. I meant to text you and I totally forgot. I was texting about 6 different people the same thing. Let me tell you a little something. The Philadelphia Eagles this year have played Jordan Love, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford, and I swear to God, the best freaking quarterback we played the whole year is the guy we played last Sunday in Bryce Young. He was sensational. He was phenomenal. He throws the ball to Xavier again and hits the run of the hands. If Xavier again had any hands, we probably lose that game because Bryce Young just kept making play after play after play on third down. And I was talking all this up about Cooper DeJean, how great he was. Obviously, this season in the nickel slot corner, and Thielen took him to the woodshed.
Yeah. I like what Grandizer said. Brandon, we keep hearing the Eagles players calling each other out. The playoffs can't begin soon enough for them.
I disagree with that comment because I think this Sunday cannot begin soon enough for Philadelphia. Because if we lose this game to Pittsburgh, I'm here to tell you, things are going to get bad in Philly with that stupid-ass media that's out there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that try to do whatever they can to tear the city down because they think they're the New York media, though they're not. This is a must-win game for my Philadelphia Eagles. Not only to have any hope of the number 1 seed, but just to get my sanity back because in my heart of hearts, I truly believe that A.J. Brown was talking about if we want to win a Super Bowl, we had to be better at the passing game. He was not calling out Jalen Hurts. There's conflicting reports and all that. A.J. Brown has officially changed his Twitter profile to the Joker, whatever that means. I hope that means you're going off, A.J. Brown, because Jalen Hurts was. No, I'm not going to break a window. Historically, the Steelers have struggled in Philadelphia. But let me give you another stat, Josh. We have never beaten Russell Wilson in my career. He is the pain of my existence.
Here's something that might help you. George Pickens is probably not going to play on Sunday for Pittsburgh.
Which means we need to take away Van Jefferson, whoever their number 2 option is, put Quinyon Mitchell on him, let him shadow him, let him walk him down. Let's get A.J. Brown going in the passing game. Let's get Devontae Smith going in the passing game. Let's get Saquon Barkley another 120 yards, and let's run the damn ball all over Pittsburgh's throats.
Man, I wish this was a divisional matchup so we could see these two teams play each other once in Pittsburgh and once in Philadelphia. I kind of hate that it's once every 4 years.
Well, actually, we played them 2 years ago because of the way the new 17-game schedule worked out. Don't you remember the game when A.J. Brown had 3 touchdowns in the first half? It was counting Steelers.
Yes, but in general, these teams only play each other once every 4 years. It's once every 8 years in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's kind of strange when you think about it, isn't it? That a football team sometimes only comes to your city once every 8 years.
Yes, like
Cleveland and Philly. The last time Philadelphia was in Cleveland was 2020. At the time of this schedule, they're not scheduled to come back till 2028.
Yeah, that is true. So. Yeah, it's bizarre. I wish they were division rivals. I don't know. I would have to look at how to realign the divisions to make that work, but I think you could. But nonetheless,
this is actually a big rivalry. Like, these two teams do not like each other.
Oh, the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh in general hate each other.
That's what I mean. So for those of you out there, Josh knows this. Don't get it twisted that this is just an AFC-NFC matchup.
No, this is America's game on Fox. Like Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady are going to be at Lincoln Financial Field.
And by the way, how great is it? Thank God I have 2 TVs in my basement. I'm going to have one TV on Bills and Lions, the other, my main TV, obviously, on Pittsburgh, Philly, because those are 2 of the 4 o'clock games this week.
Yeah, and I'll probably be coming back from Kansas City against Cleveland. I'm going to that game on Sunday, so I might miss a little of Steelers, Eagles, and Bills, Lions.
Okay, hold on. I got to pause you right there because I got to ask you a quick question.
Go ahead.
Are you going to be disappointed if you know who is not in the crowd?
No. No, I'm not. I'm not a Swiftie.
It's all right. I had to ask you the question. Continue.
But I will say this. I am expecting half the stadium to be red on Sunday.
By the way, I know we're off topic. Browns are only 4.5-point dogs. What does that say about Kansas City?
Yeah. But
anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Yes. It's such an interesting quarterback matchup. Russell Wilson, people were writing him off like prior to this season, saying his career is done. Like he's not gonna be anything like he was in Seattle. And yet here he is. He's in position to win the AFC North. Probably wins in the wild card round. We'll see who they face in the possible divisional round. No, Jets and Giants.
No. Well, for those 2 team fan bases, maybe, but those 2 teams both stink.
Yes. This game is big. Oh, come on. Fins versus Dolphins, Bucks, Chargers, Rams, or 49ers. Maybe the Oilers.
Rams, Niners is a pretty big in-state rivalry.
Yes. Especially because they're division rivals, so they meet twice this season.
Yeah. Okay, real quick. So you were talking about the quarterback matchup. Can I give you a little tidbit on one Go Hogs Broncos country, whatever, Russ, go for 7, whatever you want to nickname Russell Wilson now. It's either,
Steelers country. Let's
yeah,
go.
sure. Okay, two things. One was in 2012. Remember, Russell Wilson was a third round pick by Pete Carroll in Seattle out of Wisconsin.
Yes.
A couple picks before Russell Wilson was picked, one Nick Foles was picked by the Philadelphia Eagles, third round quarterback out of Arizona. Russell Wilson had texted Andy Reid and pretty much said before they took Nick Foles, draft me, I will win you a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. Obviously, that did not happen. We'll never know how history writes itself. Nick Foles ended up being that guy years later with Doug Peterson being the head coach. The other tidbit I'll give you, how about this? In 2022, right before Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos, the Philadelphia Eagles had an offer on the table that I know included Jalen Hurts to the Seattle Seahawks for Russell Wilson. And there was picks and there were other players. It was very similar to the deal that Denver gave Seattle. The only person that nixed that deal was Russell Wilson himself with his no trade clause. Otherwise, who knows what Jalen Hurts would be doing right now in Seattle? Maybe the Geno Smith story doesn't happen, and Russell Wilson, who knows if he would still be the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah. But think about just think about it on both sides. Like Jalen Hurts has been questioned all season long for various reasons, right or wrong. Because I think you could say make valid arguments for both sides here. I really do. I know your feelings about Jalen Hurts, and I'm not saying you're wrong by any
Boy,
stretch.
Jalen, he drives me nuts sometimes. I get it. I know there's people with not a lot of confidence in him. And sometimes Jalen Hurts does not play the best football. And sometimes you have to live with what seems like low expectations occasionally. But he made a couple of plays with his legs, even against Carolina. 3rd and 15, where he breaks 2 tackles in the pocket, spins around, runs for a first down. He's an incredibly strong athlete. And when the pressure is on, to me, Jalen Hurts plays his best football.
So here's my thing. If the Eagles struggled for the most part with the Panthers, and they don't have a great defense, how is your offensive line specifically going to handle TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Casey Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick can even
Well,
get
well,
in
I'll,
there?
I'll tell you, it wasn't necessarily the offensive line. It was just Jalen Hurts holding the football too long. I think we have the best offensive line in football, and I think the NFL is about matchups and who you play and when you play them. And for whatever reason, Pittsburgh, I can make an argument to you if Dustin Hopkins makes those kicks, that Browns game is a completely different game. And so I didn't think Pittsburgh played that well, even against Cleveland, even though they won 27-14. I think both of these teams were looking ahead to this game. I think my Eagles will play better this Sunday.
They're going to have to. Even without George Pickens, the Steelers are still formidable.
All right. This next story, I have no words. I can't believe this. Bill Belichick is potentially, and from some of the reporting, it sounds like he's agreed to the deal. It's up to the school if they want to coincide. Being the head coach of North Carolina? What?
Could you imagine him going into like a 19-year-old's house and trying to recruit them? Like, it just, I can't picture that.
I have literally no words trying to picture Bill Belichick. I'm having a hard time picturing him with his 23-year-old girlfriend, let alone recruiting 19-year-olds to go play football. It's not like in Alabama or Georgia or LSU or Penn State or Ohio State or name your school. North freaking Carolina.
I I don't know. People were saying he could be with the Dallas Cowboys next season. I don't think that's going to happen because Jerry Jones won't share a spotlight with anyone. But
Well, it sounds like to me that Belichick is going to make this decision because he's been informed by his agent no NFL team wants him.
which is crazy to me.
Well,
But
here's what I'll say. Is it when you think about it? Bill Belichick is 73 years old. In order for Bill Belichick to come in and change the culture and do your job and all that, if it's for one of these job openings, it's likely going to take 2 to 3 years. And Belichick is likely going to want roster control. Have we seen what Bill Belichick did the last decade in New England when it came to the draft? Who's the last Pro Bowl skill position talent he drafted? Rob Gronkowski?
yeah, what if by chance Cincinnati were to fire Zach Taylor and had hired and were to hire?
Well, Mike Brown's too cheap, so I don't think he'd pay up for Belichick. I highly doubt that.
Just hypothetically, though.
Hypothetically, if Belichick goes to Cincinnati, the Bengals will win the Super Bowl next year. You heard it there first.
I mean, they would have to find a way to keep Jamar Chase and or T. Higgins. Because you already have Joe. I think that would have been a possible destination, but I agree Mike Brown's just too cheap. New Orleans is a disaster, so that wouldn't have been a good scenario. Chicago, probably not.
From everything I've heard about Bill, it sounds like Bill didn't like Caleb Williams coming out of the draft process. So
yeah, if the Raiders' job was open,
the Raiders' job to me is going to be open because I have a prediction that Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders will be a combo package in Las Vegas next year.
I could see it.
The Giants' job should be open, and that's the one that I would guess Bill would probably want, but I think it's going to take too much time to turn around that dumpster fire of a franchise.
Yeah. Does Belichick really want to get involved with like conference realignment, NIL?
I can't see it. I can't even believe he interviewed.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. Apparently, did you read this story that he's got like a 400-page binder of like his laws and demands of what North Carolina would need to do to hire him? And it's a real report. This isn't being made up.
It's crazy. Because I don't think North Carolina is going to be in the ACC for much longer. I think they're going to head to the Big Ten.
By the way, I was thinking about it. And we all heard Belichick's comments in April at the draft about Drake May. He didn't love his footwork and all that. To me, Drake May's shown he can play in the NFL with those bum receivers that Belichick gift-wrapped Gerard Mayo in his first year in New England. But I was thinking about it. Is Drake May the best player in North Carolina football history? Like, name me more people that are out of North Carolina than Drake May and Mitch Trubisky. If you can, good luck.
Oh, come on. Belichick to the Bucs? No.
I've heard that as a possibility if they fall apart. I'll tell you one that I've even heard is Belichick back to Cleveland, which I'm sorry. I want no part of.
No. Okay, not the Jags?
No, Bill, if the Jags offered Bill the job, I have read and been told by multiple sources that would be the job Bill would go to.
Because of Trevor Lawrence?
No. You know why? You know who Bill is actually great friends with?
Tony Khan?
Yes.
What?
Bill and Tony Khan are best friends. Can you believe that?
What?
So the Jags thing is real. The Jags thing is absolutely real. If Bill were to get offered the Jags job, Bill would be a Jaguar.
Huh. Interesting.
And from what I've read and heard from multiple NFL reporters, Bill would get full autonomy there. GM, coaching staff, everything.
Oh, good God. He'd probably find his way into AEW somehow.
Now, the other thing is, if Bill does go to college, could you imagine Matt Patricia coaching college kids? Because I can tell you one thing, Matt Patricia's coming with him.
Oh, God. They're closer friends than us.
Yeah,
Very
that
fun.
might be true.
Yeah.
But by the way,
Okay.
oh,
But
the
I
other,
bet you this. The contract Bill Belichick's going to get is not going to be more than what Juan Soto got with the New York Mets. But
oh my,
quick breaking news. The Cleveland Guardians made a
I
trade.
saw that. I did
Andres
see that.
Jimenez is no longer a Cleveland Guardian.
I'm shocked.
He
I
is
am
a
actually shocked.
Toronto Blue Jay.
I loved Jimenez. I thought he was the second. I thought he was the best second baseman defenseman I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is the Dolans being cheap again.
They're saying it's to make room for Bonanza, the first overall pick.
They're moving him. Like, I get it. He just won a championship with the Lake County Captains, but you're going to move him right past Akron and Columbus and bring him straight to majors?
Very well could.
I guess. But, geez, you're going to have Rocchio at shortstop, probably. Ramirez at third. I've heard the Guardians are open to trading Lane Thomas and Josh Naylor, too.
I've heard that too, which both of that I don't like.
Yeah, especially Lane Thomas. Because I was there for his grand slam against Detroit. So,
All right, well, how about this came out of left field for me? Not necessarily the 15 years and 765 million, because who cares? It's baseball. If I ever have kids, I'm teaching them how to play baseball so they can be rich. But the New York Mets outbidded the Dodgers, outbidded the freaking Yankees, outbidded the Red Sox for Juan Soto. And as I said today on Brandon's World, if Juan Soto in the next 15 years does not win a World Series with the New York Mets, this contract will be an absolute massive failure. And if you look around history in baseball, outside of Shohei Ohtani's massive contract with the Dodgers that resulted in the World Series, all the times these major, massive contracts for star players don't work out.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce Harper's contract, for the most part, has worked out in Philadelphia.
Well, has it? They haven't won a World Series yet. If they don't win a World Series, that's a failure. They've made it. That's not winning it.
That's true. Manny Machado's contract has definitely been a failure.
Been a failure. I'm sorry. Mike Trout and the Angels. Now, that's more Angels than Trout, but that was a failure. To me, so far, Francisco Lindor with the Mets has been a failure.
So, here's my thing. With this contract, does that mean it's the end of the polar bear era in New York with the Mets?
Boy, I don't know, because it seems like to me, the new owner, Stephen Cohen, seems like to me, money's just an object to him.
Like, I think if the Mets, it's great. You got Lindor, you got Juan Soto. But if you want to be a factor, you got to keep the polar bear. And I'll tell you another player I think the Mets have to try and keep that kind of came out of nowhere, really, as a starting pitcher, Sean Manaea.
Yeah.
If the Mets want to be a factor, they got to keep Manaea. They got to keep Polar Bear.
And did you see the news as well regarding Max Fried, who is now on the way from Atlanta to the New York Yankees?
I did hear about this. That is a huge loss for Atlanta. I think that's a bigger loss for Atlanta than it is like a addition for the Yankees.
A bigger gain for the Yankees. Yeah, I mean, the Braves were beat all to hell to last year. Still snuck into the wild card, obviously, because the Mets and them had that handshake agreement at the end of the season with that rain out. But, you know, Juan Soto, now he goes back to the NL East. You know, he was in Washington, then he got dealt to San Diego, then obviously with the Yankees. But this Mets owner now is willing to spend. Um, I just this came out of left field. The Mets.
Yeah, I I don't get it. It definitely adds fuel to the fire in terms of the Subway series. I'll tell you that.
Well, let me ask you this quick question. A little bit off topic, but it's got to deal with baseball. We
I
had
know
this
what you're going to talk about.
originally in the rundown. This Manfred, this new golden rule, which basically says if you're not on base, I'm assuming you can come up at one point anytime in the game and be inserted. What the hell? I, I mean, what is even the point then, Josh, of having a lineup in baseball? Because Juan Soto could have just batted, for instance, gotten it out. Francisco Lindor comes up and gets a walk, and Juan Soto's right back up to the plate. What the hell kind of thing is this?
It is so freaking stupid. Um, it 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 ruins the impact of baseball, and like it it takes some of the strategy out of the game. Like uh, like it I I don't know if the thing is like if you're on base you can't be the golden batter. So if
That
Otani is on first,
it
but
has to be that way. Otherwise, what would you do? Pinch run him or put a ghost man on? I mean,
I guess. But like what? Otani's at second and he can say, "Okay, I'm going to come up to bat anyway."
there's no way that couldn't be allowed.
You,
I
you
my
just don't
base of the
know,
rule
but
was you should not have to be on base, but you can bat anyone in the lineup. That was the gist I got from the proposal.
it's so dumb. And Major League the Players Association's probably going to say yes to it.
You know, I've been wrong about baseball before. I was wrong about the pitch clock. I did not think it was going to work. I was wrong about the Manfred rule, runner on second base to start extra innings. I still don't love it, but I
I
guess it
don't
does get. But
it
I
I don't
guess it does
personally
get the
like
game
it.
over with faster. You don't really want a 15 inning game in April. I get it. Um, this one I don't get.
No, this one's bad. He's just
Sure.
he's just ruining whatever little legacy he had.
Well, his only legacy, because a lot of baseball fans did not like Bud Selig, and Manfred was viewed worse than Selig. Manfred's only legacy to this point is instituting the pitch clock.
Yeah, I mean, I could I could shit on Manfred, excuse my French there, for the way he handled the Houston Astros scandal. I could crap on him for how he's handled the whole thing with the Athletics, how he's handled the whole thing with the Tampa Bay Rays. That's just a few examples.
Shall we get to Saturday night's main event with Jesse the Body Ventura back on commentary on Rhode Island, the same place where the original Saturday night's main event first took place in 1985.
No, this isn't on Rhode Island. Long Island.
I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. We have 4 major championship matches. We have a personal feud. I'm wondering how they're going to get all 5 of these matches in 2 hours, assuming there's going to be commercials on the thing, because usually Raw or SmackDown, a 2-hour show, has about 4 matches on it.
Yeah, and they're streaming this on NBC. You can also watch it on Peacock.
On Peacock as well. So I think there is going to be a major angle that comes out of this Saturday night's main event. I think we're going to have a new champion. I cannot decide where yet. But now, also, you got to think about it now. They are teasing a huge brand changes with this transfer portal, basically stealing the idea from college football.
Yes.
As we get to the first Raw on Netflix. Like, is it possible? Does Cody lose the championship so he moves to Raw? Does Gunther lose the championship so he moves to SmackDown? I can very well see that happening.
Well, you know my feeling. I think Kevin Owens should win the
Yep.
championship. You and I debated this last time we talked about it. Um, do I think WWE is going to pull the trigger on it? Unfortunately, no. I don't think the feud is going to be over after this match, though. I think this is going to the Royal Rumble. I really do. Um,
Do you think somebody named the Viper or somebody named the Final Boss even potentially interferes in this match?
I don't know about The Rock because I know where you're going with that, but I very well could see Randy Orton interfering in this match in some way. Who he interferes on, I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
What if he RKO's both and they're just both laid out?
That's why I'm hoping that when we get to WrestleMania, I think Kevin Owens walks into the match as champion and he has to face both Kevin or Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes in a
So so
triple
you
threat match.
think that's the WrestleMania match? I think that's the Rumble match.
I think it's the WrestleMania match. I really do.
Okay, because I still think Cody and Rock is the WrestleMania match, and I think it will probably just be them two. Because I don't know if you heard the rumors today, because this relates to it a little bit. Did you hear what one of the first matches of the first Raw on Netflix is rumored to be?
Roman and Cody, yeah.
No.
Oh, Punk and Rollins, yes.
Punk and Rollins, yes. Which leads me to believe, are we going to do Punk and Roman for Paul Heyman at WrestleMania?
They could. Um,
I'm so excited, man. If there is this WrestleMania season, we thought last year's was Hulkamania gone wild, if you will. This year's going to be, I'm sorry, excuse my French, this thing's going to be completely on crack.
yeah. I'll tell you what though. I don't think Gunther's gonna lose the championship, but man, the fact that it got changed into a triple threat just adds so much more intrigue to that match for me.
Balor could very easily pin Priest. Gunther does not get involved in the decision because I don't think if Gunther wins the title, I don't think he's taking the fall.
I agree. I could see a scenario though where where Balor and Priest basically beat each other up, which allows Gunther to retain the title.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we saw at WrestleMania 39, where Drew and Sheamus were so focused on each other. Kind of like that.
Gunther, Priest, and Balor could easily tear the roof off that place.
Oh, for sure. For me, that's the second biggest match on the card. That's not to diminish the other matches, but for me, Cody Kevin is on a tier of its own because I'm personally loving the feud. I think Kevin Owens has played his heel character perfectly.
He's always been a way better heel than a babyface.
Oh, for sure. But there's just something about this Priest Balor dynamic that I'm loving. And now you're throwing Gunther into the mix and adding the World Heavyweight Championship. Sign me up. There's just something about it.
Two generalizations at you. Number one, I think you know this, but we don't talk a ton about it. My main thing that I've sort of noticed since Paul Triple H Levesque has sort of took over the long-term booking of WWE, and they've done more of this long-term storyline thing, is obviously he does always have a plan in place months out in advance. But the other thing is he is a very astute historian. And when it comes to Saturday night's main event, I think number one, back in the day, because remember, it did used to air before Saturday Night Live came on the air. So they would always, to make people tune in at the start of the show and try to get people to stick around for Saturday Night Live, they would do the main event of the show first. Cody and Kevin presumably the main event, I would not be shocked if that was actually your first match of the night.
If they do that, I think you're kind of giving away the ending, and it kind of takes a little of the steam away from the match. I understand your reasoning. I'm not saying you're wrong, but in my opinion, if you do that, I think you take some of the mystery away from the match and some of the excitement. That's just my
I think if they do that, I think the triple threat would main event, and I think that would mean Gunther's losing the title. Because I do think we're going to close this show with a title change. It's going to be a major angle. I do think one of the championships on the line, obviously one of them is going to be a new champion, the women's U.S. champion, whether it's Michin, Stratton, Bailey, or Chelsea Green. I think one of the other three champions are going to lose their title.
yes. Um, and I'll tell you what, this Sammy Drew match is going to be interesting because I want to know how Jay Uso is going to factor into it. I
Yeah,
think,
I'm kind of shocked. I kind of feel like they rushed this match a little bit. Like when Drew came back and Claymore and Sammy, maybe it's my long term booking, but I'm like, oh, that's your WrestleMania match.
oh, I totally could have justified them doing that at WrestleMania. It would not surprise me if they go back to Drew against Jey Uso and do that for WrestleMania. I'm not saying that is a WrestleMania caliber match, but it would not be surprising if that makes sense.
Does Seth Rollins interfere in this match? Does he cost Sami Zayn the
And
match?
and possibly align with Drew? No,
Yeah.
I
See,
can't see it.
I I've seen, because as you know, before the Royal Rumble, we have another Saturday night main event that's taking place the Saturday before the Rumble. I've seen some hypotheticals of some people on the internet saying, what if they do a big tag match where it's Sammy and Punk versus Rollins and Drew?
Uh, wait, they're doing a second Saturday night's main event?
Yeah, it's right before the Rumble. It's the Saturday before the Rumble. So there are two Saturday nights main event. This one, and there's going to be one in San Antonio the week before the Rumble.
Oh, that's the one in 2025 they just recently announced
Correct. Yes.
it. Okay. Um,
That's why I was saying at that event to sort of hype up the Rumble, because I don't think you're going to do a major title change on that show. What if your main event, or one of the main events, is Sammy and either Punk or Jey Uso versus Rollins and McIntyre?
maybe. I I get it. I maybe there's a lot of interesting angles you could go with this. Don't forget, there's a possibility they could do Rollins against Roman at WrestleMania.
I don't see it. I don't think they go back to the Shield feud. I they keep teasing it, but I don't think you go back there again. I think it's one of those that should have been done like while Roman was still champion.
Which the
I
way they did that finish at Royal Rumble was horrible.
It wouldn't have been horrible if you would have got another match out of it.
Yeah.
But we did, which is why it makes it look worse than it is. Let's be real.
Yes. But
And
I want
so I don't know.
yeah. Like and then Liv Io, it it feels like that's the most obvious match on the card. Liv's gonna win and retain her title because I
Yeah,
guess I don't know for you and I were talking about are they gonna stretch Liv Rhea all the way out to WrestleMania? I don't think so because of what you were saying. At the first Raw on Netflix, they want to treat that like a WrestleMania, right?
yes.
And the rumor is they're going to do Punk against Rollins. Rhea, Liv.
Okay. I can totally see that. My question is, and here's the other thing too. because we don't know if this Jade Cargill injury, they did this attack, if it's storyline related, if she's actually hurt. I've seen conflicting reports. Like, does that change what Bianca does? Do you put her in the title picture? Like, one of the reasons why I don't think Tiffany Stratton is going to win the U.S. title is because I think she's relatively cashing in soon on Nia Jax.
She should have cashed in at War Games.
She should have cashed in the middle of the match. I thought that would have been a great moment. I agree with you. I hope it's Chelsea Green. I think Chelsea Green deserves it unequivocally. I think she's tailor-made for a mid-card women's championship.
Yeah. I kind of hate that they're doing the same thing on both shows with the Women's Intercontinental Championship.
Well, that tournament, I assume, is going to correlate the first Raw on Netflix.
Yeah, but it's just kind of dumb that they're doing tournament on one side, tournament on the other. Yay!
Well, I mean, seriously, if you think about it, I mean, if you get any more ideas, let me know. But how, would you do qualifying matches for a ladder match and that's how you determine the first champion? Like,
yep.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Could you, like, the women's Money in the Bank matches recently have been fantastic.
Oh, I thought the one this year was right up there with the men's.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Why not do, a women's Intercontinental Championship ladder match?
Yeah, they could. No, it's a good point. I definitely see you on that point. Very excited though for Saturday night's main event. Cannot wait. Josh, you know what's so strange? Because the holidays this year, obviously with Christmas being on a Wednesday, Christmas Eve, other holidays, New Year's Eve obviously falling on a Tuesday. Next week, probably going to be our last show of the year.
That is correct. So
let's make it a great show. We're going to have a ton to talk about, including previewing the 4 games of the college football playoff. By the way, next Saturday, December 21st, if anybody has any plans, cancel them now. There are 5 football games on, all massive games. So we'll talk about that. We'll recap Saturday night's main event. We may dive into the NBA here and there. I think the NBA Cup is going to be just about concluding around that time as well.
Yeah. By the way, on that note, did you hear what they're doing for the 2 broadcasts tonight on True TV?
No, I did not. Let me hear it.
They're going to basically be combining NBA 2K with TNT. So it's going to be like an NBA 2K datacast broadcast.
NBC and Peacock are going to do sort of the same thing with Madden and the NFL for that Texans-Chiefs game. I believe it. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be like a video game type presentation. Yeah. Wait, Texans-Chiefs. That one's on Netflix, though.
No, it's not. That's the Christmas Day Ravens, Texans, Chiefs, Steelers.
Yeah, those games are on Netflix.
Those games are on Netflix. Chiefs, Texans, 1 o'clock next Saturday. NBC, Steelers, Ravens will be on Fox.
That's right.
Those 2 games are going head-to-head with the first round of the CFP.
Interesting.
So it is a 5 football. The first game of the CFP, I think, is Indiana Notre Dame. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. I think it is. That might be the Friday night game, actually. I know there's 1 game Friday, 3 games Saturday, and noon, 4 and 8. And the football games for the NFL are 1 and 4.
Yeah, and I know the 8 o'clock game on Saturday is Tennessee.
It's Tennessee, Ohio State.
Right.
So, all right, well, we'll be back next week. I want to throw out this quick comment from Grandizer who says, make sure Josh wears the dog collar when the Browns play the Dolphins.
I don't have a dog collar. So, oh, come on. No.
Well, it ain't snowing here in Cleveland today, I'll tell you that, Grandizer.
No, it's raining. So
47 degrees and rain. Hey, it's better than that 12 feet of snow they got in Ashtabula or wherever it was out here locally in Cleveland. But thank you guys so much for joining us tonight on Championship Rings. This was a phenomenal show. I think one of our best. We'll be back next week to wrap it up. Championship Rings 2024. Don't miss it. We'll see you guys next time. And peace.
A salute to you.